Before you start judging and hating me for the thumbnail and the title of this video, I make a humble request to at least hear out my concern, which I actually wanted to address for a pretty long time. And this is something which, according to my observation, has been overlooked by majority of comic book movie fans so far as James Gunn's new DCU is concerned. Let me first inform you that I am a huge lifelong fan of DC Comics, and I truly from the bottom of my heart want James Gunn's DCU to be a huge success and we finally have a chance to witness a proper interconnected cohesive live-action DC cinematic universe. But from a logical standpoint, James Gunn's vision has a major problem which is very reminiscent of the problems that ultimately led to the death of the Snyderverse or the DCEU, whatever you like to call it. Before I go into more details on this subject, I'm going to ask you to spend just 1 second of your time to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, because that is the only thing which motivates me to bring you more and more such awesome contents. Okay, with that, let us dive right into the main subject. There is absolutely no denying the fact that James Gunn is a very talented as well as visionary filmmaker who has the potential to give us the absolute best Superman movie of all time. Make no mistake, we are talking about the same guy who was able to make a talking raccoon and a walking tree the backbone of the critically and commercially acclaimed Infinity Saga of the MCU. So, the most likely scenario is that Superman Legacy is going to end up being a very well-crafted superhero movie which will lay the foundation for the DCU going forward. But the biggest problem the movie faces is that its release comes at a time when the DC franchise is going through its worst possible phase. If we leave out Matt Reeves' The Batman and Joker 2019, which are standalone movies set within their own timelines, every single DC movie unfortunately turned out to be one big box office disaster after another. What is really disheartening is the fact that most of these movies were actually pretty good. I would even go as far as to say that majority of the DCEU movies were in fact better than most of the recent MCU projects. However, the box office performance unfortunately for Warner Bros. Indicates exactly the opposite. And the implications of the poor box office performance of the last few DC movies is unfortunately going to reflect on the commercial performance of Superman Legacy as well. I know a lot of you might be triggered by my last statement, but if you look at the situation from a logical standpoint, there is absolutely no way people are suddenly going to show up in large numbers to watch a DC movie, especially when it is the first movie within an entirely new universe. If I am being generous, it would literally take a miracle for this movie to make anything beyond $500 million at the very best. And what is so ironic about this whole situation is the fact that Man of Steel is still considered to be a commercial failure even though it managed to earn almost $700 million. There is absolutely 0% chance that Superman Legacy can manage to surpass that number. I would be really happy if my prediction turns out to be incorrect. But unfortunately for that to happen, we are going to need something close to a miracle. And trust me, that is not even the worst thing which I intend to talk about in this video. If we look at the entire slate of movies for the first phase of the DCU, once we leave out Superman Legacy, almost all the other projects are based on lesser-known C-list characters like Booster Gold, Creature Commandos and The Authority. I know there is a Batman movie in there as well, but trust me, there is no way that movie is going to release anytime before 2028. A couple of days ago, we have learnt that Matt Reeves' The Batman Part 2 has been delayed by a year and will now release in October of 2026. And there is no way James Gunn will let that movie overshadow and take the spotlight away from his own version of The Dark Knight. So, the most likely scenario is that Mr. Gunn is going to wait for the hype around the Batman sequel to slowly fade away, which would take a year at the very least. Keeping that in mind, my best guess for the release of Brave and the Bold will be sometime during the first half of 2028. And this indicates that James Gunn's DCU already seemed to be facing the exact same problem which led to the downfall of the Snyderverse. Despite having full copyright control over a character like Superman, who arguably is the most popular character in pop culture, WB for some reason felt it was more important to make a TV show on a character like Peacemaker rather than making a sequel for Man of Steel. The same can also be said for Batman, who along with Superman is the most popular superhero character of all time. In fact, the case with Batman is even worse because the DCEU did not even bother to give the character a solo movie of his own during its entire lifetime of almost a decade. On the other hand, the MCU wasted literally no time to introduce their most popular characters and gave us 4 big-budget blockbuster Avengers movie in the same span of time as the entire lifespan of the DCEU. What I basically want to say is that, when you are on a mission to create a major cinematic universe and want to build up a strong fan following around the same, you need to be willing to take a few calculated risks. I mean, there is a possibility that things might not end up working in your favor, but at least at the end of the day, you will have some kind of a foundation and a certain level of fanbase around your franchise. In defense of James Gunn, You could say that the reason behind his decision to start off his universe with the introduction of lesser-known characters is because he wants to distance himself from the DCEU or the Snyderverse, whatever you like to call it. In other words, he intends to use characters which were not introduced or had a chance to appear within the DCEU, at least for the first phase of his new universe, so that it feels unique and fresh rather than just a continuation of the DCEU with a new set of actors. Even if that actually is the case, you still have a ton of other iconic characters from DC Comics which never made a proper appearance within the DCEU. Just imagine the kind of reception from fans to a solo Green Lantern movie visually similar in style to the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Hell, I would have been much more excited to see a proper modernized John Constantine movie in comparison to an Amanda Waller show or a second season of Peacemaker. But unfortunately, we are not getting any of that, at least for the first phase of James Gunn's new DC universe. Nevertheless, I am still going to hope that I am wrong and the DCU actually turns out to be a huge commercial success. As a lifelong fan of DC Comics, I really hope the franchise gets back its lost glory and climb back to the top of the chain right where it belongs. So, that is all I had to share in this video. Do let me know your thoughts on the new DC universe and its future prospect in the comments down below. And please do not forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.